want to go out and inspire the world.
Little girls, you can grow up to be bitches too. Hi, I'm Tien Tran, and I use comedy as a defense mechanism.
And I'm Paige Nielsen, and I use these as a defense mechanism.
For our listeners, Paige just flexed her biceps. Welcome to In These Cleats, or the Noodle Show.
No, those are good.
No, are they really?
Wow, I can
Look
see
at
the
my little
lump.
bicep. You can see a lump? Good God, Paige. We will recruit you. Lauren,
Yes.
did you watch the game, USA versus Sweden?
I did watch the game. I was up at 2:30 in the morning watching that game. My girlfriend was mad at me for staying up so late.
Did she watch it too?
No, they were asleep next to me.
Okay.
I had my little headphones in. And
Wow,
was
this
watching
is
the game.
dedication.
Yeah.
Did you watch it on like a phone?
I watched it on my computer, on my laptop,
Okay.
yeah. And
How did you feel?
It was a thrilling game. Like, they played really hard. Like, I was excited. I thought maybe we'd win.
Yeah.
And then we did.
Yeah.
And I was like, she blocked that
I
ball.
know.
And then literally, like, the
Look at you drawing VAR.
it was so close. It was like, what, like a centimeter?
I know. How do you
ridiculous.
measure that?
It shouldn't have counted.
I think so too.
Yeah.
And I've never been more pro-American in my life. I think maybe we should go to war with Sweden. I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
Do you see yourself like continuing to root for the U.S. women's national team? Well, that pause makes me feel that.
You just said you were very pro-American.
Yeah.
Yeah, that game made me feel pro-American. I will keep watching. Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed that game, and felt really invested so early in the morning. I could have been watching alone, but I was watching this, and
That means a lot to us.
It does.
Yeah, yeah, very proud of those women. They played their asses off, and fuck Sweden forever. I'm kidding. They're a great team.
Okay, well, it's actually great that you stayed up till 4:45 in the morning to root for the U.S. Because this week, our segment for We Will Recruit You is to show you that, rooting for the U.S. women's national soccer team is maybe one of the few times that you can be unproblematically patriotic.
Ooh, okay, that's
Does that
appealing.
appeal to you?
It does appeal to me.
Okay.
Face paint and all.
Yeah.
Okay, because as a Black
Flag.
American, whenever I see any sort of patriotism, I am fearful.
That checks out, and I don't disagree with you on that. So here we have some images, and I want you to tell me where you think these images were taken.
Based on the amount of American flag wearing and the face paint and yelling, I'm gonna guess that these photos were taken at the January 6th insurrection.
Wrong. All of these photos were taken at U.S. women's national team events.
Oh, damn, really? Mm-hmm. Those people were rooting for women to succeed?
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. Okay. Well, you know what? That's actually patriotism that I'd love to see.
Us too.
Yeah.
Lauren, after seeing all this, would you ever want to go full patriotic and be given a space to be sort of like
Proudly
a
American?
proudly American? I know that's a loaded question.
It is.
I know.
And I feel like I'm walking a tightrope.
I know. I got you on both sides.
Straddling that American flag. No, I have always wanted to be patriotic and feel proud in that, and I do like that this is a safe space for that. I would wave an American flag in this context.
Yeah. Lauren, do you think that women's soccer will make you more patriotic?
That is a hell no.
Okay, Lauren, because you know what? I do believe I have some footage of you
Oh
proudly
no!
singing. Then
Not the
look at
receipts,
this.
girl. Come
Oh,
on.
this is roll the
this
clip. Hand over heart.
Where did you get this?
Hand over. Shit.
This is a deep fake.
Oh.
If I've ever seen one.
No. This is not AI.
AI
This
has
is
gone too
no.
far.
This
They
is
got
your.
me now.
Look at
Oh,
your
Lord,
face.
Look at this bullshit.
This is you. Look at you. You're
wearing
hitting
the
the
same
notes.
glasses now.
You're hitting the notes.
Someone has stolen my life.
Oh yeah. Turn that volume up, Chloe.
You did say you got a free shirt too.
Damn it.
That's you.
Oh my God, a patriotic woo.
I was at a game. You said it was a safe space.
I think we've got her on the right track.
Yeah.
Yeah, damn, you really got me. Okay.
Where are you falling now?
Where was I?
You were at 4 last time, right?
4?
Yeah. After going down, then up, then down again.
Is being tricked into singing the U.S. national anthem something
After
that'll...
seeing a deep fake of myself. No. I'll give it to you. I'll give you the point. I'll go 5.
Wow. We're halfway there.
That's 100% on a Yelp review.
Yes,
Let's
it is.
go.
All right. Yeah, you guys should be proud of yourself.
Okay, Lauren, well, we'll bring you back next week to... We're going to keep trying. We're going to get you to a 10.
I was brutally manipulated into this one.
Yes, you were. Now get your gay, patriotic ass out of here.
Ow! I hurt myself. You happy?
I am.
You happy, babe?
Questions from a superfan. Let's get right into it. Injuries. A part of the game that you kind of can't avoid, really. And I want to talk to you about injuries that you've experienced and sort of kind of what you do to kind of prevent or come back from it. Like, Paige, what are some of the injuries that you've experienced or are currently experiencing right now?
Yeah, a broken heart. Oh, no, I already said that. We'll work on that later. Actually, it was close to my heart. I had a blood clot in my subclavian vein. It's called Paget Schroeder. A lot of tennis pitchers, swimmers get it. It's like a repetitive use of your arm, and you build up like scar tissue and basically muscles that block your vein.
Okay.
And you create this blood clot, which is pretty scary because blood clots, if they break off,
Can
they
lead to so many different things.
Yeah, so many things. First day of preseason, I looked down while I was training and my arm was massive. I was like, everyone was making fun of it. Like, oh, I have a Hulk arm. Like, you're so buff.
Oh my God, everyone was making, they must feel like shit now.
Yeah, well, I was making fun of myself, so I feel like shit.
How big are we talking? Like twice the size of your current arm now?
Probably 3 times.
Oh my God.
It was huge. But yeah, so I ended up, in order to play soccer again, I had to blow this blood clot out, get on blood thinners for 3 weeks to calm my blood pressure and stuff, take my first rib out, a neck muscle here, like right in the middle of my face, and another neck muscle to play again to free up the space. And that was all last year. That's what I had to deal with.
So you're sitting here without a rib right now.
Yeah, and I asked to keep it, but they sent it to pathology. Could you
really?
imagine me putting my rib on like a necklace and
Yeah, I
showing
think
up?
you should. I think if I had a rib taken out, I would turn it into a ring.
Yeah, so I'll do my research on how to get my rib back because they stole that from me.
They did. So you were out for...
I was out for like 5 months. But
Is that the longest you've been out for your career, 5 months?
for my professional career? I honestly didn't fully understand how mentally hard it was going through something like this until I did it. I broke my leg in like 8th grade, but I don't really remember it. But yeah, it was hard. Like, I was alone in LA. My wife wasn't with me. I had my sister here, which was a huge help, but new team, new teammates. My teammates didn't know how to like support me.
Yeah.
It was during COVID. No one could visit me in the hospital.
Oh.
And it was the most painful thing I've ever been through. I woke up and my chest felt like it was gonna explode. Couldn't breathe. I got the hiccups and I wanted to die. But I'm here. My medical team was amazing. I had to show up early before training, do a lot of rehab, so many exercises, then go to team meetings and watch training. And it was a cycle of trying to push running, and I had a chest tube, so my lungs were like gassed. It was so hard to get that back. Just going in every single day, not knowing how you're gonna play after you recover. It's scary and isolating. I think isolating is the hardest part because you're used to having this team that become your family because you're always away from your family. And now you're injured and you feel less important. Like, no one cares about you, really, until you're back because it's a business, too.
Right.
And the coaches have to prepare for games. And, yeah, it's tough.
The mental aspect of it is, I think, something that people don't really talk about that much in the recovery phase. Like, what did you do personally to try and, like, get through that sort of difficult time?
Yeah, I pushed all boundaries. I'm
Okay.
a pusher. I like 5 days after my massive surgery, I bought a bike and I started biking around Santa Monica and Venice.
Oh my gosh,
I
Paige.
know, but I was
Did
still
the doctor
on
say it was
drugs.
okay?
No.
God, okay.
I couldn't turn my neck to see if any cars were behind me, but I did it anyways. But that was my mental therapy. Like, I love being active. The gym is my safe space,
Yeah.
and so that was like the one way I could kind of like disconnect from everything and feel just like alive.
Do teams provide like therapists or like any sort of help on both sides, both physically and mentally, for athletes that are trying to get back in to playing after an injury?
Yeah, so our CBA actually made it so that the teams had to provide a therapist.
Okay,
which
good.
has been amazing.
Good.
Yeah, and that also helped me a lot. I saw a therapist from the beginning of my surgery. It really helped, though, when I was getting back. So I started playing in July, and my level all year last year wasn't even close to my top potential.
Yeah.
And no one knew that, especially the fans of LA. They're like, who's this player? And I see comments now.
And they're like, who is this?
Yeah.
Paige Nielsen.
I see comments now like saying she grew so much. And I was like, wait, you didn't know me before at the Spirit. But yeah, so
Now when I see those comments, I'm going to be up in there being like, you didn't know her. Yeah. She was amazing before and is now. I'm going to be defending you left and right. You have no idea.
it's really hard when like an injury or an ailment is holding you back from being your best self, but you have to pretend like you are your best self. And I think that's what like therapy was good for. They tell you, you know, this experience is going to help you in the long run, and kind of just celebrate your small wins every single day.
That is so, I mean, that's a great message for everybody. Well, Paige, I have, as you know, so many more questions, but they'll have to wait till next week. We have such a special guest here for you today. Rachael is a former American soccer player. She played midfield and forward for the Portland Pilots. She also played internationally in Iceland and for the U.S. Women's National Under-23 team. You might know her sister, who's an icon of soccer. She's also a badass entrepreneur, owner of Mendy, which is a suite of all-natural CBD tools designed to keep active lifestyles empowered. And she's here with us, direct from Auckland. We have Rachael Rapinoe. What is the atmosphere like at this World Cup?
It's definitely frenetic. It's really, really cool to see how many people came so far for the World Cup. I mean, it's like you're traveling across the world basically, and people are coming here specifically for the World Cup, and not just for the U.S. too, but like U.S. People coming from the States, but they're wanting to like watch so many different games. They're really like true fans of the game, which is something that I haven't seen a ton of in past World Cups when I've met fellow Americans. Like they're specifically coming to watch the U.S. games, but now like the game is just so fun to watch across the board. And I think for us too, I mean, Megan is a player. She's done so much on the field. You know, she's obviously won everything that you can to win. She's progressed the game so far, pushed it to new heights. And I think just like everything that she stands for off the field, as her sister, as someone who is a business owner and just like, you know, cares about being socially conscious, it's really fun to see like the spectrum of Rapinoe fans. It's just really fun to see. It's definitely really touching. And I think it's obviously just like a testament to who she is and just how she walks in the world. So that's really fun from my perspective, this being our fourth World Cup. And Paige, I'm sure you can attest to this, like it just keeps getting better. It just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And the resources, the visibility, just the impact that these players are making in every nook and cranny of the world is like really felt. And I think especially in this World Cup for sure.
Speaking of impact, I don't know if you know this, but I got drafted to Seattle Reign in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
And your sister was one of the people, along with Jess Fishlock, that kept telling me I was gay. And I was like, no, I'm not gay.
Oh, God. She kept telling you that you were gay?
Yeah. Like there's a pride parade and they're like, you're coming, right? Because you know. Or like, even if they didn't say it outright, they'd be like, yeah, you're coming.
Oh my
And I'm
God.
like, I don't know what I am yet. I'm dating both genders, okay. And now I have a wife, so it's kind of full circle.
Mhm.
But she was a really great role model. I know she is across the world, which is incredible. But let's talk about you and your story. And I appreciate how honest and vulnerable you've been with media. And I read somewhere that Megan actually told your mom that you also were gay. Is
Yeah,
that correct?
she has, this is her thing now. She just likes to out everyone. So no,
I guess. And I'm
she
a
does
victim,
though.
but I'm thriving.
I know.
But I'm actually kind of jealous that I didn't. Well, I'm missing out on this.
You are missing out. I know you haven't lived until you've been outed by Megan Rapinoe. No, she does have a tendency though to think that everyone's gay, and me and Sue and some other people have to be like, Meg, not everyone's gay. She's like, prove it, prove it. I'm like, okay. Yeah. We grew up like, small rural town, Northern California, Christian, Republican. So there was like no language. I think I maybe heard homosexuality once when growing up, but there was no, like, I had no language for like lesbian, gay, same sex, equality. What? Never heard about equality. Didn't know what that was. So
I'm
anyway,
from Lincoln, Nebraska, so I
yeah,
totally get it.
you get it.
Anyways.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I like grew up in a strict Vietnamese immigrant home, so totally get it too.
See, I know we're all vibing right now. We totally get it. We're speaking each other's language. Yeah, but then like imagine then going from that to Portland, Oregon, which is like, keep Portland weird and queer. And so it was really confusing. And Meg came and she was just like, oh my God, this is what's been missing in my life. Like she had like the best light bulb aha moment. For me, I was like, oh, fuck, this is what is going on with me. But I was still like kind of going to church and still, Christian or identifying as a Christian. So it just took me until I was about 24, 25 to like really come to grips with it. But when we came out, everyone was kind of like, oh, May, yeah, that makes sense. Like, I can see that, which was really validating for her. But then for me, they were like, I'm shocked. Like, I never would have guessed, which just made it even more confusing. Because for like, I think in my like spirit, I knew that like I was connected to being gay and, wanting to be with women. But my anxiety brain just like wouldn't really let me go there. And then when people were not validating me and, this path of me being gay, it just caused a lot of shame, a lot of confusion. And then I just sort of like leaned hard into the church for a couple of years. And I wrote about my experience of, attending sort of like a mega church in Portland, which is funny. It's like Portland has one of like the fewest people who go to church, and somehow I found a mega church there. And
You're desperate to be straight.
I know. Yeah. Oh my God, seriously.
Just really wanting to stand out from Portland.
And sort of like them sort of praying the gay away from me. And they didn't use that language specifically, but that was definitely what was happening. So I really like leaned into that, which made it even like harder and, way more harmful. So yeah, it was tough for me.
Yeah, I feel that.
I mean, I think that's why your story is so inspiring too, because it's so relatable. Like, as queers, you just had to unlearn so much. Like, I grew up feeling like I was saving myself for the perfect man, which is hilarious to me now that I even thought that was like a thing that was in the back of my mind all the time. And so to like go through all of that and then be the like very out and proud and like person that you are now that people look up to, I think it's just so inspiring and exciting. This World Cup has a record number of out players, about 95, doubling the number of players that were out in the last World Cup. That's just a fact. I didn't have a question to follow up with that. I just wanted
Yeah, I didn't even know that. So I love that statistic. I think what everyone's been saying is just to normalize it. I think like the more I think it starts with a lot of the brave players that came out years and years ago and sort of like laid the foundation of it being safe to do so. And sort of just like setting the standard of like everyone's included in our sport. And it takes like strength in numbers, right? So I think like the more women's players that have come out and have felt safe in doing so and felt safe in just like celebrating the full spectrum of who they are, it just naturally sort of inspires other people to kind of follow suit. And I think the same needs to happen with our trans and non-binary players. And I also, in the men's side as well, I just statistically, my sister said this before the 2019 World Cup, that statistically you can't win championships without gays. So go gays. And so
it's so
there's
true.
Just no statistical chance that there like aren't more male gay players. Not just on the soccer side, but like just across sports in general. And it really like makes me so sad on the men's side that it isn't more inclusive and accepted and there aren't more players coming out, but obviously they're not coming out for a reason. They don't feel safe to do so. So, the cultures aren't really like built for that yet. So I'm, my heart is just like on fire for so many male athletes, non-binary trans athletes who are sort of just like waiting to be their full selves. And hopefully, in the next 5-10 years, we can see that.
Ugh, I hope so too. God, just want Tom Brady to really come out.
Oh my God. Can you imagine?
I'm joking.
Or Giselle. I mean, one of them.
Yeah, or Giselle. You're right. Or Giselle. Both would work. I'd be happy with either.
Both are fine with me. I know.
Can we touch on one more thing, because I think it's so relatable to a lot of athletes? You dealt with some injuries. I just want to ask, like, is there enough being done or research about these injuries when it comes to how specifically they affect women, but also without a lot of resources?
Well, no. I mean, there's never enough research specifically like as it pertains to women across the board. But yeah, I mean, I had 2 ACLs, 4 knee surgeries total, which sort of, ended, I graduated college, and I took a long time with those surgeries, because of all the emotional and mental health issues that I was dealing with and just using opiates. Like I was prescribed a lot of opiates and definitely abused them. And just, took me like a couple years to sort of like recover from the surgery, get my mental health in a place where I felt like I could actually sort of set my sights on something bigger. And then I started playing again and, went and played abroad, and then fractured my ankle. So my ankle was actually the injury when I was 26 that sort of like sidelined me for good. At that point, I just had like so many surgeries. And I think the bummer, to your point, Paige, is, I just didn't have access to therapy. So like really, like I didn't have access or even like the language or the knowledge around training my mind and training my like emotional well-being in conjunction with my physical training that, is required to play at that level. And that does make me really sad. I also didn't have access or the knowledge around like plant-based medicine. I was prescribed a lot of pharmaceuticals, a lot of synthetic, over-the-counter or prescripted drugs to sort of like help with sleep and help with anxiety and help with pain. And I think there's a place for that for sure, but you can't be taking that stuff chronically. Injuries, especially injuries where you're out for 6 months to a year, that just naturally, like you're going to feel really isolated. And I think that people, when it happens the first like month or so out of surgery or first month or so, from an injury, like you're going to have a lot of support, but then over the 6-month period or the 12-month period, like naturally everyone else is living their lives. So they're sort of like forgetting that like you're still in the recovery process and you're isolated from your team and you're on a different training program. And like, you're just on like a completely different schedule than the rest of your colleagues or teammates. And that can be really draining. And that can definitely, cause some depression and some anxiety. And I experienced a lot of that. And I just wish and I hope that moving forward, when a player gets injured and when they're put on a rehabilitation program, part of that program should be mental health. related, and you should absolutely be prescribed therapy or like, coaching, something to help with like the mental and emotional aspect of like going through that recovery process, because it is so much more than just like a knee injury, as you know. I also, coming from someone who loves plant-based medicine, specifically hemp CBD, I think that absolutely needs to be a part of the rehabilitation process too. Like I said, there's a time and a place for prescription drugs, opiates, certain high dosage anti-inflammatories. But, it should be combined with also like an all natural alternative as well, to sort of start weaning you off of it and setting you up for long-term success. So that is the reason why I started Mindy. It's not to like completely replace all Western medicine, but it definitely is much better for your mental and emotional well-being, just like long-term.
Yeah, and I wanted to mention that because I also struggled after coming back. The biggest struggle was more when I rejoined the team and I wasn't even near where I was supposed to be. And people like expected so much out of you, and you're like, hold on, I just went through 5 months of hell of rehabbing, like going through a lot of shit, and I'm coming back and everyone's just been in normal training for this full time, and it was hard. And I remember I was in a lot of pain, and I actually asked for more hydrocodone, and I'm actually blessed that the doctors were like, no, here's something that's not addictive. And my PT always joked with me about weed or CBD, and I was joking back, but then I kind of started using CBD to help me sleep because it was still so painful in my back and my chest.
Yeah.
And I'm such a huge advocate of CBD in athletes. So I want to commend you for making this Mindy and being open and honest and vulnerable about what you went through, because I think a lot of athletes can relate.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Rachel, before we let you go, one last question, and it's related to like, you were forced out of being a professional athlete earlier than you wanted to, and like you were able to find your path with Mindy. What advice do you have to athletes and just to people in general who have like built their life around a particular identity for themselves, but then had to kind of find a new path because you just had to?
That's a great question. I mean, it's a struggle. I'm not gonna lie. But it's hard no matter what. Like being a pro athlete is so hard. I mean, Paige. Like people ask me all the time if I miss playing, and I always say, hell no, I don't miss playing. I love my hot dogs and my beer and watching games. Like it is so hard what you guys have to do. Not only like the physical training, but the mental and emotional load that you guys are under all the time playing at that level with those expectations. So hard. And I tell people like the eating alone, like you have to eat so much food. I was always like under eating because I just didn't know. So I was just like always at a caloric deficit when I was playing because we just didn't really have the resources that you guys have now. So I didn't know what I was doing, But I mean, it's hard no matter what. And I think when I got out of playing and when I finally retired and was kind of looking at jobs and stuff, everybody would always tell me like, oh, we love hiring athletes. And I never really understood it because I was coming into my career post playing feeling really insecure and self-conscious because like I didn't have a lot of like non-soccer related work experience. And, I failed a lot. And I never really understood like why people would always tell me that they loved hiring athletes until I got later in my career. This is my second business now with Mindy. And what I've learned is you're going to fail a lot. And, you can't really be afraid of like making mistakes. And that's similar to playing soccer. Like you fail all the time. And it's like through your failures that you obviously can like see the successes and set yourself up for success. But it is really hard, and kind of the name of the game is to like stay in the game, which is a very cliche soccer cliche, but, it's true though. It's like, you just like stay in it and like slowly chip away at, whatever career path you want, or, just really like for me, I just never stopped believing that there like was a path for me where I could not only like be passionate about, but also like find a lot of purpose in. And that was really important to me coming from soccer, because it's like such a passionate job. It's such a passionate environment. So I didn't know how to do anything where I couldn't bring that like same passion into my work. That I couldn't, I took some jobs where like it just felt really passionless and it just never connected with me. And yeah, so I mean, that was a really long-winded way of answering that question. But that's kind of been my experience.
Every time you said fail, I committed a PK on the weekend, and I'm playing the PK, but my goalkeeper saved it, and I'm gonna learn from it.
Exactly, and that's the thing, right?
It's build a business.
You can't never take a PK if you miss one. That would be ridiculous. So it's like, I mean, you're gonna fail.
So fail and fail hard. And
fail hard. I know.
Yes. It's so true, though. It's such a relatable, like, it's such a message that is like applicable to everyone. Like, the only way you grow is by failing. And so thank you for sharing that. Yeah. And I do think it's important to name that, like, in the patriarchy that we live in, especially women, people of color, our queer community, like, the systems aren't set up for us to succeed. Mm-hmm. So it is going to feel really hard. And like, your failures may just only be because like the system actually wasn't set up for you to succeed. So, and I've had to learn that the hard way. I've like taken all of them on, and I've really had to like work with my therapist to overcome a lot of like self-consciousness and shame around some of the failures that I've had. And I think it's important to, obviously like learn from them, but also like really understand the systems around you and like how they were built and who they were built for. And not to like, it's important to take accountability, of course. But I do think it's like powerful to name that as well. I mean, there's a study that says that like high achieving women of color, queer folks have such a high prevalence of imposter syndrome. And there's a reason for that. It's because we are walking into these spaces that we're constantly questioning, like, why are we here? Do I deserve to be here? And to learn to kind of push that away is hard, but is necessary.
But we're breaking down barriers where we can.
Hell yeah.
Starting with this podcast.
Exactly. Yes. Hell yeah. I commend you to, and thank you so much for having me on and giving me a space to share some of my story.
Thank you so much for taking the time to sit with us and sharing that brilliant mind of yours with us. Really, it's such a joy. You know what that means?
Stoppage time, the final segment of the show where we get to talk about whatever we want.
As long as it's not about SOCCER. Okay, today I want to talk about using the word guys to mean everyone. I am trying to remove guys from my vocabulary when addressing a group of people that is mixed across genders, and I feel like I'm not doing a great job of that. I want to try to use like y'all or folks, but I have never felt more appropriative in my entire life. I just feel like very unnatural being like an Asian woman being like, yo, come on out here. Do you use guys when you're addressing?
I've also been trying to change it, and every time I say, hey, I resort to bitches. Hey, bitches. I'm like, I can't say y'all because that's the Nebraska stereotype. Can't say guys because we're trying to move things forward.
Yes.
So I resort to bitches, which also probably moves things back.
I think 10 years ago, it would have taken us 2 steps back, but I think we've reclaimed it now, right?
Yeah.
And I think bitches is taking us 10 steps forward. Like, I feel confident in saying you're a great bitch. Is that wrong to say? I mean, she is. Paige is a great bitch.
And Tien is also a great bitch. I think if we own it.
You're the bitchiest bitch I know.
And you're less of a bitch, but still a bitch.
Thank you. That felt empowering to hear from you.
Yeah, I want to go out and inspire the world.
Little girls, you can grow up to be bitches too.
Oh, God.
I used to have a male boss that would be like, start a meeting by being like, hey, guys and ladies, which is felt worse. I feel like if he was just like, "What up, bitches?" I'd be like, "Great, let's start the meeting." Have you ever had a coach that's like, let's go, bitches. Get your ass on those pitches, bitches.
No coach, but teammates.
Really?
All my teammates, yeah. They say, let's go, bitches, and give us a little tap on the butt.
That sounds hot to me.
It's hot and empowering, really. I'm like, I'm ready to go.
God, I really got to start doing that to my castmates on TV. I bet they'll love that.
Maybe they'll have to sign a form.
I mean, I think we've covered. I feel like
Yeah.
don't say guys, say bitches.
Yeah. Is there any other word that we can use instead of guys? I mean, besides ladies and women. Hey.
Folks. I know people use folks. Hey, people.
Hey, people.
Yeah.
Hey, people.
Hey, humans.
Hey, really beautiful human beings.
I love that.
Yeah. Okay.
I love that.
Not as good as bitches.
Not as good as bitches. Hey, turds. Everybody poops. And I feel like if you just, hear me out. Everybody shits. And if you were to address everyone as a turd, we're all on the same level. Thanks for watching another episode of In These Cleats.
See you guys next week. Bitches.
See you turds next week.